Browns have made it official. Joel Bitonio is retiring from the NFL. This coming out 25 seconds ago. Joel Bitonio making it official, stepping away from the NFL. At a joint with the Browns, he wrote a tremendous piece here. I'm parsing through it right now on their website. But after a tremendous career with the Cleveland Browns, personally for him, he is stepping away from the league. So Joel Bitonio retiring with the Cleveland Browns. Before we bring on Dan Wetzel here, your thoughts there, Tone?
Yeah, well, obviously, there was some speculation as recently as yesterday on whether or not he would be back. And, I'm thinking, I don't think it's going to go that way. I thought maybe there was a chance he could come back, like if there was an injury to a contender, later in the year. But him making that announcement today, you got to be, at that position, you got to be fully all in on something like this. And obviously, he had been agonizing over this for a long time. So wish him the best. And he was an awesome Cleveland Brown for a very long time. Big part of some of the better offensive lines we've seen in recent history of the Browns.
One of my favorite Browns ever. I've told him before that there have been guys who've walked through the door. I mean, we've been doing this together with the Browns for 14 years. There's been guys who have walked through the door that have made it hard. I like to be a fan and talk about the Browns and be, with you doing the show. I'm not a journalist. And there's been guys who've made it harder, who've come through. He is one of the special ones that made it much, much easier. To be a fan of the team, want the team to do well, and obviously be able to cover the team. And he's a tremendous pro. I think that he could be a Hall of Famer. I understand that we have plenty of time to talk about that and the conversation behind that. But certainly means a lot to a lot of Browns fans out there. Consummate professional, and I wish him all the very best in his life's work after this. Obviously still a very young man, as most guys are who retire from the NFL. So there's a lot for him to do in life, and he has every opportunity, and we wish him every single success from this show. I'll tell you that right now. Joel Bitonio has just announced his retirement. Your thoughts on Joel before, because I have a thought. I really hope that a lot of the young guys see the outpouring of support that's going to come out about Joel Bitonio today. And I have a reason for that coming up at around 9:26 that I want to tell everybody about. However, I do want your thoughts on Joel. Joel was a friend of the show. Joel still is a friend of the show. It's not like he died. Joel is a friend of the show. I think a friend to a lot of us. And I look at him, and there's a little bit of both. I kind of get the same feeling I got with Joe. That's like, hey, you had this tremendous sterling career, but there's still that was so left as an organization that I wish they would have been able to accomplish with you because you were a consummate professional during your time here. Like, there's been so many guys. I know we pay attention to a lot of guys through the last 26 years who are knuckleheads and idiots and morons and really don't deserve to be in the NFL, let alone have anybody wear their jersey. And then I look at a guy like him, Joe, Christian Kirksey, Denzel Ward someday, like these guys who may very well spend their entire career with one organization. It's like, well, they don't have to always be an adversarial relationship with the fan base, and I think Joel Bitonio kind of proves that, does he not?
How many guys have we made Hall of Fame cases for since we've been on the air
and
that have worn a Browns uniform?
And I would love to.
We've made a Hall of Fame case for him.
And the only thing that I think is going to ever hold Joel back is probably their team's success.
Yes.
Like if the cosmic tumblers would have clicked into place, and they were to be a perennial playoff team, if they were really set to go to the playoffs this year and had none of the craziness ever happen, any of the other things, I wonder if Joel tries to go one more year, but we don't know that. I mean, your body tells you when your body tells you, and I think Joel played 12 years. That was a fantastic career. But there's always going to be that conversation, too. Like, if you go to the playoffs a whole bunch more, you're a Hall of Famer. You mean you just are. As an offensive lilineman,
you're playing in so many bigger games.
Case.
Then you're on national television a lot more.
Exactly.
You've got the best broadcasters bringing you up. I mean, think about those Dallas Cowboy offensive lines when John Madden and Pat Summerall were doing their games, and how all of them were getting mentioned time in and time out. Bitonio, like so many, great players on bad teams, they didn't get that shine.
Because there is, like the Hall of Fame being from here, I'm very interested in. I'm very interested how they vote for it. I mean, it's a Hall of Fame, famous players, right? not just about what you just did on the field, which what he did. You got to be sterling on the field to be there. But it's also the story that's around it. Had they been going to the playoffs, it's 11-year vet Joel Bitonio, 12-year vet Joel Bitonio, going to try to hoist the Lombardi Trophy just once before he calls it a career. Like, that sticks with the media, that sticks with the voters, that sticks with the fans, and it's easier to make that case. However, I mean, you're looking at a guy who definitely goes into the legends, definitely is welcome back for all the homecomings and everything of that nature. Is definitely one of the guys that will be at the if he chooses, will be at the autograph signings and all those other things, because he was a tremendous, tremendous piece and a great representative of the organization his entire 12 years here. So what this does to the offensive line, how many people were actually planning on Joel coming back to the offensive line?
Nobody I knew. That's why I'm surprised everyone's like, well, now here the Browns have to mobilize this. I'm like, did we not all?
I did not think he was coming back.
Yeah, I thought we had kind of written this off a while ago.
I didn't know anything. It wasn't like I was sitting there like, oh, yeah, I've been texting Joel. No, I didn't know that. I'm just pointing out I did not expect him to be coming back. Because right now I think you're looking at Spencer Fano over there at left tackle, which, by the way, interesting. I heard Nate Tice last week, and he said he doesn't think Spencer Fano is finishing his career at left tackle. He thinks that because that sounds almost like a bad thing. He thinks that because of his versatility, there's 4 other places that he can play on the line that eventually, depending on where their draft takes them, people are going to hate this comparison. Nate actually compared him to Will Campbell in New England. Now, I understand he got beat up in the Super Bowl. It was the Super Bowl, and he was obviously playing hurt. All right, he was great throughout most of this last year until he got banged up. But he felt that the Patriots' idea was that the end game with Will Campbell was not left tackle. It's another spot on the offensive line, maybe at guard. For Spencer Fano, maybe it ends up being right tackle by the time it's all said and done for him. Not sure. But either way, he does provide versatility. Let's see if he can get the left tackle thing down first before we go down with anything else. You're looking at Zion Johnson at the left guard spot. Elton Jenkins I know he's been put in by like our lads in their depth chart as a starting center. I would not be surprised, and Nathan said this, Zagura, and a lot of other people said this, like probably Parker Brailsford could end up getting a real good look to be your starting center. I know he's a 5th-round pick, but he might have a real good look to be your starting center.
I got to say, that's part of the reason why I don't think it's the end of the world. You earlier in the show, you kind of brought up how these could be the biggest weeks of Shedor's career, and I'm like, I can't go there because I actually think he might serve to benefit by not starting the season as the quarterback. Because you're talking about putting a 5th-rounder starting with a whole new offensive line. Like, how do you think that's going to end in the first 4 or 5 weeks?
Let me.
I don't care who the coach is.
I understand your point. I don't disagree with your point. I think it's valid. But I also think in real time, like the second, like say they announced Deshaun Watson as a starter, we're going to be loaded with calls of people who want to trade Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Shedeur fans saying, "Get him out of here! I'm sick and tired of your franchise.
We've done him wrong
messing with
2
him.
straight years.
You've done him wrong." I think that even
though we're one of the few teams that would give him 7 starts to end the year.
And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I hope that the wrong people don't get involved and say, "Well, he's got to go." Like, I hope that doesn't happen. So I'm trying to think long game here with you. I think your point is well taken. I don't disagree. I think it could be very well a great thing to go, hey, you got thrust into a situation you were not prepared for. They did not serve you well last year. If you're Todd Monken, you got thrust into a situation. Now we're going to change the offense on you. It is not in your best interest to do this. Like, I think that might be a great thing, but we know a lot that the surrounding media, fans, whatever, may feel differently about that. I hope that bad ideas don't happen. Either way, like Parker Brailsford ends up being, go back to the offensive line and Joel Bitonio. Brailsford, I think, probably ends up being, or has a great chance to be your center. I don't know if he's going to end up being it, but he has a great chance to be your center. Tevin Jenkins is in there at guard. I mean, you've just brought him back. Who am I thinking? At Zion Johnson. Hold on.
Well, you
Titus Howard.
Yeah.
That's the name I was I wrote it down, and then I didn't have my papers in front of me. It's right there. Titus Howard probably is your right tackle on the other side. More than likely.
And what's up with DeJuan Jones? What are we...
I think, he's still coming back from an injury.
Every year?
I understand. He's coming back every year. I think maybe more he could end up being maybe more of a swing tackle because you can't really count on him to do all those things for you, considering all the injuries that he has had. And I think, honestly, his replacement at the swing tackle position could end up being Austin Barber, the kid out of Florida, if we're going to go that way. 216-474-0092. I do think, and I wanted to say this to you after this break, is that I hope some of the young guys on this football team, the guys who we did, like there's guys who are struggling to make the team. I'm not talking to them. They got to take care of their own business. They got to do it. I'm talking about guys who we could see being on this football team over the next 5 to 10 years. Guys that were in the draft last year that we're really excited about. Guys that could possibly be part of this future. I hope that they do see the outpouring of support from Browns fans. Because what makes our city, I'll put Pittsburgh in there. I'll put Buffalo in there. What puts big cities but not big markets, or I should say big markets, but not necessarily big cities. What makes them special is that, if you play in the NFL, these are usually football areas, and if you play for their football team, the fans do not have to be adversarial. There are guys here that they take the fans, and I hate it, but you're right, like they look at us like it is all just one great big conglomeration of fans, and it doesn't really matter, with the exception of a certain few stadiums that 90% of the stadiums, it's just a stadium. They all look the same. They all feel the same. All the fans are the same. They like you when they like you, and they hate your guts when they're not there, and they'll hate your guts on the way out. But you look at a guy like Joel Bitonio, there's going to be an outpouring of support for Joel Bitonio, and there's going to be an outpouring of support for Joel Bitonio for years and years and years and years to come. He might not be a Hall of Famer because of all the things that we've laid out for over these last 5 years. I hate to point it out because it sucks because the guy just retired. He may not be a Hall of Famer, but to Browns fans, he's going to be one of the special players of that era. And there's not that many. There's not that many. It doesn't always have to be, we use you up and that's it. It doesn't have to be, I don't trust these fans and that's it. Yeah, you got to be good. You got to put together that effort. I understand that we're expecting more of you when, if somebody shows up late to work at their own job, no one's showing up and getting on the radio and saying that they need to be cut. I get all that, but that's part of what you sign up for. And you look at a guy like Joel Bitonio, there's fewer and far between those guys who are still loved by their fan base than there have ever been. And we don't stick around for very long. So Joel Bitonio stays around his entire 12-year career. You're going to see an outpouring of support unlike a lot of guys that you see in the league with this fan base today. And I just hope that a lot of the young guys on this football team, who we do hope are here in 10 years, giving us their statement about their time with the Cleveland Browns as they retire, I hope they see this today. It can still be a special relationship between a player and a fan base.
Well, you're just seeing fewer and fewer of these, unless we're talking about even winning teams. You see guys, look at the 49ers have been a winning team. Look how many guys have been jettisoned from the 49ers over the years, and they win more than they lose. So, you factor that in. Also, we talk about the window that the Browns had, from Dorsey, and of course this goes way back. This was a Ray Farmer pick, right?
Yeah.
But you think about was he in 2014?
I think it was in the same draft as Terrence West, wasn't he?
Yes, it was the same draft as Johnny.
God, I'm getting old.
So you think about
oh my God.
Just the guy like Njoku just finished his 9th year in Cleveland.
He was the same draft
and I
as
said,
Johnny.
Guys don't even get that much time. That's a long period of time in any sport.
Yeah, and honestly, like his career, and I'd love to get Joel on here very soon. His career was a little touch and go. I mean, he had the Liz Frank injury that set him back a season. A little bit of that career was kind of like, well, is he going to be healthy enough to be able to do it? Because and by the way, he's one of the few guys you don't see the drop in, just play him and then set your watch to him for the next 10 years guys anymore. Not in this generation offensive lineman. I think a lot of that has to do with high school and college football coming up. I don't need to get into that whole diatribe again. I think everybody's heard me a million times on that. But like Joel was a guy who played tackle in college. They dropped him in. He played guard, and you just set your watch to him for the rest of his career, with the exception of the injuries that he dealt with earlier in his career. But everything else, he was sterling for you for all that time. And there's a lot of times he had to get his back shot up and all the other stuff to continue to go out there and play. So for Joel, I hope that people see, I hope the young guys see how much of a special relationship this is where, yeah, they were not always winners. And they definitely lost more than they won. No fault of Joel's. But you see how special a guy is to a fan base like Joel Bitonio, like a couple of these guys have been here over the last 10 years, who have come back and retired as Browns. Christian Kirksey, Rashard Higgins, who did not spend a whole lot of time here. And there's a lot of people who just absolutely love him. Like, it can be a special relationship.